Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessa Rivera, and I'm going to report Article 1325 to 1331. First article. Article 1325, it talks about business advertisement. It says, unless it appears otherwise, business advertisements of things for sale are not definite offers, but mere invitation to make an offer, meaning business advertisements of things for sale may or may not constitute definite offer. They are merely invitations to the reader to make an offer, or only as proposals. However, if the advertisement is complete in all the particulars necessary in a contract, it may amount to a definite offer, or it is a definite offer when the object is determinate. So, paano natin malalaman kung ang business advertisement is a definite offer or not? Example, if advertisement contains all the necessary data needed in a contract, then it is definite offer for the sale of the thing advertised. And if the advertisement does not contain all the important data for the future contract, then it is indefinite offer and just a mere invitation to make an offer. Clearly, the advertisements are just invitation for people to make offers. Next article. Article 1326. Advertisements for bidders are simply invitations to make proposals, and the advertiser is not bound to accept the highest or lowest bidder unless the contrary appears. Advertisement for bidders generally not definite offers. In an advertisement for bidders, the advertiser is not the one making the offer. In reality, the bidder is the one making the offer, which the advertiser is free to accept or reject. So, let's explain this with an example. Lisa sells at the public auction a specific land. The starting bid is 1 million. Jisoo plays 1.1 million, Rose plays 1.2 million, and Jenny plays 1.3 million. In this case, automatically ba na magkakaroon ng contract between Lisa and Jenny? The answer is no. As a general rule, the advertiser is not bound to accept the highest bidder, as when the offer is to buy, or the lowest bidder, as when the offer is to contract a building, unless a contrary appears. In this case, meron pa ring option si Lisa na tanggihan ang 1.3 million because advertisement for bidders is only an invitation to make an offer. So basically, ang mangyayari, hindi si Lisa ang nag-o-offer dito. Ang nag-o-offer ay sina Jisoo, Rose, and Jenny. Nakasalalay kay Lisa kung kaninong offer ang i-accept niya. But based in judicial sales, however, the sheriff or auctioneer is bound to accept the highest bid. So si Lisa will choose Jenny who has the highest bid. Next article. Article 1327. The following cannot give consent to a contract. First, unemancipated minors. 2. Insane or demented persons, and deaf mutes who do not know how to write. Take note sa deaf mutes who do not know how to write. If they know how to read but do not know how to write, it is submitted that the contract is valid, for then they are capable of understanding and therefore capacitated to give consent. Merong dalawang uri ng voidable contract. First, a contract where one of the parties is incapable of giving consent to a contract, and the second is malalaman and i-discuss natin later on. Question, what is the reason why this kind of person cannot give consent to a contract? The reason is that this kind of persons mentioned can easily be the victims of fraud, as they are not capable of understanding or knowing the nature of their actions. Next is reason for disqualification for giving consent to a contract. First, unemancipated minors. These are the persons who have not yet reached the age of majority and are still subject to a parental authority. A minor can be emancipated by marriage, attainment of the age of majority, or by parental or judicial authority. Take note, if a minor gets married, they will no longer be called minors. Example, Jenny is 16 years old and Kai is 17 years old, decided to get married because they feel that they are meant for each other. So what can we say about this contract? A contract entered by an emancipated person is considered voidable. But in this case, both of them are minor, so this contract is now unenforceable. So next reason, insane and demented persons. They are capable for giving consent during lucid interval. Kahit man na-declared na silang insane or baliw, may court order that person is judicially declared insane siya, pero nakapag-enter into a contract, pwede ito maging valid. We just have to prove that contract was entered to during his lucid interval. Last reason, deaf mutes who do not know how to write. These are persons who are deaf and dumb. Formerly, a deaf mute was presumed to be an idiot. If a deaf mute does not know how to write but he knows how to read, he should considered capacitated. Next article, Article 1328. Contracts entered into during a lucid interval are valid. Contracts agreed to in a state of drunkenness or during hypnotic spell are voidable. This article talks about the other situations wherein voidable contract or reasons of incapacitated to give consent. Let's explain this provision sentence by sentence. Contracts entered into during a lucid interval are valid. First, what is lucid intervals? Lucid interval is a period of time between regaining consciousness after a short period of unconsciousness, resulting from head injury or deteriorating after the onset of neurologic signs and symptoms caused by that injury. So, contracts entered into during a lucid interval are valid. Why? Because lucid intervals is a temporary period of sanity. Even if a person has already been judicially declared insane and is actually now under guardianship, he may still enter into a valid contract, provided that it can be shown that at the time of contracting, he was in a lucid interval. Of course, here, he is already presumed insane, and therefore the sanity must be proved. So next, contracts agreed to in a state of drunkenness or during hypnotic spell are voidable. Ang rationality naman dito, during drunkenness or hypnotic spell, nagkakaroon ng temporary complete loss of understanding. So, ini-equivalent ito as a temporary insanity. Next article, Article 1329. The incapacity declared in Article 1327 is subject to the modifications determined by law and is understood to be without prejudice to special disqualification established in the laws. Sinasabi dito na yung mga incapacity declared in Article 1327, which are the unemancipated minors, insane person, deaf mutes who do not know how to write. Sinasabi dito na pwede silang modified or subject to modification determined by law. Kasi may mga instances naman na although yung mga taong ito ay incapacitated, they can still be entered into a contract through their guardians or legal representatives. A contract is valid when entered through a guardian or legal representative, a minor misrepresentative his age and convincingly led to the other party to believe in his legal capacity, a minor between the age of 18 and 21 voluntarily pays a sum of money or delivers a fungible thing in fulfillment of his obligation thereunder, and the obligee has spent or consumed it in a good faith. Example, Mark, a 15 years old, was able to convince John, 20 years old, that he, Mark, is of a legal age. So they both entered a contract. The contract and the consent made by Mark and John will be considered valid since Mark was able to convince and make John believe in his legal capacity. Next article, Article 1330. A contract where consent is given through mistake, violence, intimidation, undue influence, or fraud is voidable. Dito naman papasok yung second kind of voidable contract. Kanina nabanggit ko na yung una, when a contract where one of the parties is incapable of giving consent to a contract. And now the second kind of voidable contract is which is the consent of one party are vitiated. Vitiated means merong error, fraud, violence, intimidation, or undue influence na nangyari kaya nagbigay ng consent. There is no valid consent unless it is intelligent, meaning there is capacity to act. It is free and voluntary, meaning not by reason or violence or intimidation. It is conscious and spontaneous, meaning not by reason of mistake, undue influence, or fraud. Vices of consent. This renders consent detective to us to make the contract voidable. So, nakapagbigay sila ng consent through mistake or error, intimidation or threat or duress, fraud or deceit, undue influence, violence of force. For example, Jacob and Juliet went on a drinking session. By the time Juliet became drunk, Jacob asked Juliet if she would like to buy his car. Juliet agrees. The consent Juliet gave to Jacob will make the contract voidable since Juliet was not of mind or drunk. So the last article is Article 1331. In order that mistake may invalidate consent, it should refer to the substance of the thing which is the object of the contract, or to those conditions which have principally moved one or both parties to enter into the contract. Mistake as to the identity of or qualifications of one of the parties will vitiate consent only when such identity or qualifications have been the principal cause of the contract. A simple mistake of account shall give rise to its correction. So before we start, mistake or error is defined as the false notion of a thing or a fact material into the contract. Nature of mistake. First, mistake may be a fact or law. Generally, Article 1331 refers to this kind of mistake. It may be due to ignorance or lack of knowledge about fact. Second, substantial mistake of fact. This is what the law contemplates about. In other words, the party would have not given the consent if he had known the mistake. Third, mistake may be unilateral or bilateral. Unilateral, it is only one of the party has mistaken the material fact. Or bilateral, it is when both parties are in error. Although the provision of the article is rather long, its content is very simple. The article is simply answer the question, when does mistake vitiate consent? Basically, article provided requisites of mistake vitiate consent, and that is if it is substantial. The requisites are object of the contract, conditions which have principally moved one or both parties, identity or qualifications of one of the parties. So we talk about the substantiality of a thing. Pero, paano natin malalaman kung ang mistake is substantial? So we can determine this with the question, will the party take part into that contract despite knowing the mistake? If yes, that mistake is immaterial or it is not a substantial mistake. If no, then the mistake is substantial. We talk about the nature of mistake, which is the substantial mistake of the fact in which the party would not given the consent that if he had not known the mistake. So this question reflects concept of substantial mistake. Now, to have deeper understanding, let's have an example. First, mistake regarding the object. Mary need to buy an accounting book, so she bought from Beth. Upon delivery of the book. It turned out to be a finance book, and Beth is actually selling a finance book. So, if Marie knew that Beth sells a finance book, definitely she would not have entered to this contract. Second, mistake regarding the condition of the contract. Marie delivered a book to Beth. having thought Beth has financial capability to pay soon. Basically, Marie is selling it on account. On the other hand, Beth agrees thinking it is a gift or donation from Marie. So, there is a mistake regarding to the condition in this example. Mistake as to the identity or qualification of one of the parties. Remember that mistake has a condition in order to vitiate contract. As the article provided, mistake is as to the identity or qualification of one of the parties will vitiate consent only when such identity or qualification have been the principal cause of the contract. For better understanding, let's have an example. Mistake regarding the condition or qualification when it is not a principal cause. On the first day of class, Marie sold an extra book to Beth for profit. Marie thought that Beth is her classmate when actually she is from the other block. The principal cause to why Marie sold the book is for profit. So the identity here is not a substance to why Marie is selling the book. Mistake regarding the condition or qualification, but in here it is a principal cause. Example, Marie wants to donate her extra book to a classmate. Marie gave it to Beth, when in fact Beth is not her classmate. The identity here is the principal cause for the consideration. Plus, this is substantial mistake regarding the identity or qualification. This then vitiates consent. Now, there are mistakes of fact that does not vitiate consent. First, mistake regarding the incidence of a thing or accidental qualities. Marco wants to buy a house that overlooks the sea. It just so happened that Joy has this house which overlooks the sea, which he wants to sell. When Marco wants the newly bought house, he did not expect the accessibility of the house means of transportation is bad, so the principal consideration of Joy is in buying the house is that overlook the sea. So this mistake does not vitiate the consent. Next, mistake of account. First, we will discuss the simple mistake, where we can read this in the last paragraph of the article. It states that a simple mistake of account shall give rise to its correction. Example, Tristan bought an apartment. In the document, price is 1.3 million when it should be 1.2 million. So this mistake will only give rise to a correction by putting a correct amount in that document. Next, so there's another kind of mistake, and that is gross mistake, and this thus vitiates consent. Example, Tristan bought a apartment thinking that it is 100 square meter apartment, but when actually it is 100 square meter apartment. So this mistake is gross because it is clearly apparent to Tristan that apartment is only 100 square meter. So this vitiates consent. Next, the third mistake of fact that does not vitiate consent, mistake regarding motives of the contract. Example, Jacob sold his apartment to his auntie for 500,000. His motive is to use the money to start a business. This cost or consideration here is 500,000 pesos. This means that motives are not always cause of the contract. Motives only vitiate the contract when the motive of Jacob is to fraud his auntie. Next, the fourth mistake of fact that does not vitiate consent, mistake as to identity or qualification that we've already discussed earlier. So let's move on to the next mistake which could have been avoided. This mistake arises when the parties does not exercise ordinary diligence. When we say ordinary diligence, it is the care which every prudent man takes his own property of a similar nature. And the thing which cause it to arises is that he has knowledge of the mistake but he still wants it. And lastly, when the mistake is so obvious that no one would done it, These circumstances do not have vitiate consent. And that will be all. Thank you.